We've covered all the rules that you need to know. The next 2 days will be combining them and using them all together. So we spent a day just doing this, a day just doing this, and this, and then yesterday this. So now you're going to start seeing them all together, mixed in, intertwined. So this is where it takes a lot of focus and being very careful. Some of you, if you've skipped showing work, this is where that method falls apart, where you said, it's each of these is so easy by themselves, I don't need to write anything down. Well, now when I ask you to do all 4 of these together, you don't know how to show work when it's just one rule. So if I ask you to show work for 4 or 5 rules, you kind of don't know where to start. So you took the easy road at the beginning, now it's going to get hard. Now if you spent the time showing a lot of the work on the easy stuff, you know how to do it. So when stuff gets a little more complicated, you just keep doing it and you keep getting it right. So you did the more work ahead of time, and now it's going to be a little bit easier for you than compared to other people. And that's just how that story always goes. Okay? You're going to have to do the hard work at some point. It's just choosing, are you going to do it up front, or are you going to do that at the end? All right, so let me start you off this way. Here's what we're going to be doing. All right, raising to a fraction power, but we're now going to have some numerators other than 1. So let's first do a little bit of review. And believe it or not, you already know a lot of the rules. It's just writing in a way that you would recognize. Okay, so let's review. A square root of 9 is the same as square root, 9 to the 1/2 power, right? Okay, and you don't have to write that out. As we're doing this, you're going to have the option of whether to write that out or not. But if at this point you can say 9 to the 1/2 is 3, that's fine. But if you need that, that's okay too. 8 to the 1/3, it's the same as cube root of 8, which equals 2. And anything else? That's good. 100 to the 1/2 equals what? 10. So that's the square root of 100. What times itself equals 100? That'd be 10. Alright, so here's what's going to happen today. What if I did this? Raise that to the 3rd power. So, alright, raise that to the 3rd power, raise that to the 3rd power, and 3 to the 3rd equals 27. So if I give you, something in parentheses and then raise to another power, we can do that. We've already done it on homeworks before. Same thing here. If I do this to the 4th power, that'd be like the cube root of 8 to the 4th power, which is 2 to the 4, which equals what is that? 2 times 2 times 2. 4 times 4 is 16. Okay. Same thing here. So that'd be the square root of 100 to the 5th power, which is 10 to the 5th power, which equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 100,000. So do you agree that we already know how to do this? If I gave you these problems, one exponent on the inside, one exponent on the outside, we'd be okay with that? Alright, so that's all kind of review. The only difference today is this is the same problem as this, and this is how the question will be phrased. What's 1/2 times 3? 3 over 2 power. And what's 1/3 times 4? 4 over 3 power. And what's half of 5? That's the 5 over 2 power. So if I give you this, something to the 5 over 2, can you break the exponent up into these two parts and just do one exponent at a time? Okay? And that's basically what you're going to be doing. So it's something we already know how to do. The only thing new is how to get from here to here. If you can do that, you're good. So let's look at a few. Okay. Look at a few of these. So I'm going to break this up. On the inside, it's going to be 1 over whatever the denominator is. So 1 over 2. And then on the outside, I'm going to put the numerator. And now it's a problem we know how to do. Just a simple step, how to get this broken up. Okay. So 9 to the 1/2 is square root of 9, right? Keep bringing down that to the 3rd power till we simplify inside the parentheses first. Order of operations. Square root of 9 is 3. Bring down the 3. And 3 to the 3rd power is 27. And if you have a calculator that does fractions, you can put in 9 to the 3 over 2 power and confirm that. You might have to hit this button, okay, and use parentheses. Put parentheses 3 divided by 2, close parentheses, and then that will give you the same answer. So it's about how to break it up into smaller pieces. If we don't know how to raise something to the 3 over 2 power, we at least can raise it to the 1/2 power and then cube it. That's the same thing. Okay? So here we go. Let's try another. 125 to the 2/3 power. 125 to the 1/3 squared. 1/3 times 2 is 2/3, so they're equal. And what's the 3rd root or cube root of 125? 5, because 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So 5. Bring down the squared, and 5 squared is 25. So after we break it up from here to here, it's just order of operations. We're doing the inside of the parentheses, then working our way out. -1 to the what power? What power will it be? You tell me. 1 over 3 raised to the 4th. So top number is always on the outside on all of these. You got to pick up on that pattern there. So cube root of -1 is -1. And -1 to the 4th is positive 1. There we go. So those are some of your more basics. If you want to write notes, like, change it to, how I'm breaking this apart, pulling the top number out to the outside, write down some notes, or if you can just follow the pattern here, that works too. All right, bit 4. Let's try to do some with the negative. Now, negative is a 3rd step, so we're going to treat the negative as its own step, which flips it. And I'm going to do the flipping at the end. I usually like the last thing, I just pretend it's positive, and then the last thing I do is whatever I got in my answer, I'm going to flip it, and that will address the negative part. So 49 will be 49, let's see here, to the what power? 1/2 to the -1. Okay? Because -1 times 1/2 is -1/2, so I'm just breaking it apart. So 49 to the 1/2 power is the same as square root of 49 to the negative 1 power. Square root of 49, 7 to the negative 1. And then the negative, remember, just flips it. So if it's 7 or 7 over 1, by flipping it, it'll make it 1 over 7. Positive, right? Negative exponent is a positive fraction. It's just a small number, not a negative number. Good. One more. Or maybe a few. We'll see how we do. So we have 3 parts here. Before, we always have, the first one 1 over whatever, and this was already a 1 over. But now we have a 2 over a 3, so those are each a step, the 2, the 1 over 3, and the negative. So we have 3 different parts. So we're going to have the 1/3 part first. Then I'm going to square it. That's what we did before. But then I have a negative. So the last thing I do is going to be this negative 1. I'm just going to start on the inside and work my way out. Just order of operations, do the innermost parentheses. But notice how these 3 multiply to this. I'm just breaking this number up into the bottom, the top, and then the negative 1. Okay. So what is the cube root of 1/3? I'm sorry, what is the cube root of 8? 2. Okay, so I did that. Bring down the 2, and then we have negative 1 power. What is 2 to the 2? 4. Okay, and negative 1 power, and that's 4 over 1, so the answer is 1 over 4. It just flips it. So the last step, when I have a negative, is just going to be flip whatever you got. One more time. Okay, let's do a few practice. Okay, write those down. Let's actually just, let's go ahead and do all those. Let's do all 4. So let's take a look at these. We got 27 to the 1/3 to the negative 1. The cube root of 27 is 3. 3 to the negative 1 is 1/3. And some of your calculators, if you do this, they will give you a decimal. That's not acceptable. You need to have 1/3, not 0.3333. 81 to the 1/2 raised to the negative 1 is square root of 81 is 9. 9 to the 1/2 is 1/9. Right? Now these ones have 3 steps because there's the number on the numerator here is not just a 1, so there's 3 steps. So we got 4 to the 1/2 to the 5th. That's 5 over 2 right now we have, and then that to the negative 1. That takes care of the negative. So 3 steps, 3 different, 1, 2, and 3. 3 different steps. 4 to the 1/2. Square root of 4 is 2. So 2 to the 5th. And then flip. 2 to the 5th is 32. Then negative 1. Flip it. And when I say flip, we know we mean reciprocal. That's the mathematical term. And last one, we got 81 to the 1/4 to the 3rd to the negative 1. The 4th root of 81 is, anybody get it? What times itself 4 times is 81? 3. Okay, so 3 to the 3rd is 27, and 27 to the negative 1 is 1 over 27. There you go.